Ever wonder what an ESOP is? When to use one, when not to use one? Wondering how expensive it may be? A lot of people have these questions. So today we brought in an expert in this field, Charles Kroll, Managing Director of Pilot Hill Advisors. Charles, thanks for joining us.
I appreciate the opportunity, Brandon. Thank you.
Yeah. So for those wondering what an ESOP is, at a high level, what is an ESOP?
It's a good question, and that's one where ESOPs are becoming a lot more popular out there, but there's a lot of misconceptions on what they really are. So ESOP stands for Employee Stock Ownership Plan. And what it is actually a legal trust that is created to buy stock from the owner of a company.
Okay.
And so an owner that wants to either sell their company or diversify part of their holdings in their company can set up this trust, this ESOP, sell the shares into the ESOP, and then that ESOP is created for the benefit of the employees.
Okay.
And so the employees then become beneficial owners of the company through this trust.
So if you're a business owner, why would you want to do this?
That's the $1 million question right there, quite literally. So business owners at some point, they have to sell their company. The calendar doesn't stop, the clock doesn't stop. And so for business owners that don't have an internal succession plan, so family members that are able and willing to take over the company, they're likely going to have to sell their company to another party. There's a lot of different parties out there that someone could sell their company to. One that almost everyone has heard of is private equity. They can sell it to a competitor. They can sell it to the management team. Another option is to sell it to the employees. And so choosing to sell it to the employees a lot of times is driven by a loyalty to the employees who helped them build their company in the first place. It helps preserve the legacy of that owner. A lot of the business owners, their name is on their building, their name is on their company, and they want that to continue. And selling it to the employees can help with that legacy and help that culture that they built, help the company that they built continue on for the next generation.
Yeah, and that's. I mean, you mentioned a few reasons of why they might want to do it. The flip side of that coin is some reasons why they may not want to do it. What would those be? What would those look like?
So one term that I've learned as I've been doing this is if an owner wants to potentially what they call lick the plate clean, they want the absolute last penny humanly possible out of the value of their company. An ESOP has to pay fair market value for the company. It can't pay more than fair market value. That's actually the law, one of the laws of the ESOP, one of the laws of being an ESOP. And so if an owner feels his company is worth $20 million, but I'll say fair market value is $15 million, if he can find someone to pay $20 million, probably he's going to have to find another entity to do that that's willing to pay that amount of money. If they're willing to do a fair market value deal, then an ESOP's a great candidate. Where you can get more than fair market value is typically selling to a competitor who is going to pay what they call a synergistic value. They're willing to pay more, but the reason they're willing to pay more than fair market value is there's synergies. They can get more value by combining the two companies than if they just owned it as an individual company.
Yeah. So is it true then that if you sell to an ESOP as a business owner versus another buyer that are on the fair market that you'll receive less?
Headline price, yeah.
Okay.
I would actually say that could be true at headline price.
What about long term maybe?
Well, I would even say long term, no.
Okay.
You can actually earn more or get more for your company selling it to an ESOP than another party. And keeping it really high level, go back to an example here. If your company is worth $10 million, and you sell it to an ESOP, you get $10 million from the ESOP. As part of that, when you look at your after-tax proceeds, and that's the key in all of this is after-tax proceeds.
It matters.
That's a capital gains transaction. And so that's taxed at a capital gains rate, which is lower than if you maybe sold it to another company who wants to do an asset deal, and they're going to get your proceeds are going to be taxed at ordinary income tax rates. So really rough numbers, and every situation is different. If you sold your company for $10 million to an ESOP, equivalent after-tax in your pocket money, you may have to sell it for $12 or $13 million to another party. So even though the headline price is higher for another party, the ESOP, you might actually get more money because of the tax treatment.
Yeah, we see that a lot with clients. I say, don't look at the sale price, look at the in-your-pocket after-tax price. Asset versus stock sale really matters.
Yeah.
Working with planners who understand that really matters.
Exactly.
And you can get tricked into a good price but a bad deal.
That's exactly right.
Because taxes matter.
That's exactly right.
So in the ESOP world, there are many misconceptions, right? One that I hear is, well, aren't they expensive to operate or own or to do the deal? I mean, walk through kind of, are they expensive to operate?
There are costs to operate an ESOP, and there are costs to create and sell your company to an ESOP.
Mm-hmm.
No different than if you were to hire somebody to market your company out to a broader business community, if you're going to actually hire a broker, a
Mm-hmm.
business broker to sell your company.
Mm-hmm.
And so from a transaction standpoint, there are obviously costs involved. There could be a transaction advisor, which is what I do.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be attorneys involved, CPAs involved,
Mm-hmm.
valuation companies involved.
Mm-hmm.
You're also going to have those involved if you sell the company to another party as well.
Mm-hmm.
So there are costs up front. Ongoing, there are unique costs to being an ESOP as well. And some of those costs would include, as an ESOP, you are legally required to get a valuation performed every year. So that is a cost.
Mm-hmm.
You may have, you most likely will have a trustee involved as well, overseeing the ESOP
Mm-hmm.
on behalf of the participants of the ESOP.
Mm-hmm.
There's a cost to that. However, what I would say is by adding up those costs, comparing that to as a 100% S corporation ESOP, you are no longer paying federal income tax.
Mm-hmm.
So that business owner that maybe their business was making $1 million a year, they were taking out $400,000 a year just to pay taxes.
Mm-hmm.
That $400,000 doesn't come out of the company anymore. It stays in the company because there are no more taxes for that company,
Mm-hmm.
by and large. So the cost, if you're spending $50,000, $60,000 to operate the ESOP every year compared to the $400,000 for taxes,
Still up 350,000.
it's a pretty good deal when you look at it from that perspective.
Yeah. And we've talked about all of the benefits from the owner side of the seller, right? Now the employees that buy it from the owner, what benefits do they have as being new owners of the company they work for?
That's what gets exciting about ESOPs, and that's the real value, and it's kind of an economic equalizer for ESOPs, and I call it's a rising tide that lifts all boats. So that $1 million a year that previous owner was earning by owning the company and operating the company, that $1 million is now creating value for all the employees that work at the company.
Mm-hmm.
Now, an ESOP is a retirement plan.
Mm-hmm.
And so the value of that ESOP is really building a retirement asset for these employees.
Mm-hmm.
So even though they have an ownership stake in the trust, they don't directly own the shares in the company. They have value in the trust that owns the company.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of a nuance there, but the important part is that when that employee gets to retirement age, the value of the company that they received over their term of working at the company is now available for them as a retirement plan benefit, just like a 401k plan.
So then they would generally roll those over into an IRA.
Right, exactly. You would treat it like another retirement asset.
Mm-hmm.
And so while that value is being created over that employee's career at that company, that is not taxable. It's a retirement plan contribution, similar again to a 401k plan. And then when they become of retirement age, moving into IRA, start taking distributions, that's when it's taxed. But for a lot of employees, especially I'll call it a blue collar company where they maybe have some retirement savings, but not a lot, that ESOP could be 2, 3, 4, 5 times the value of what they have in their 401k plan.
It could be. We've seen them here with $1, $2, $3 million in them. And then working with an advisor who truly understands taxes, again, becomes very important because if you do nothing by the age of 75, you have a required minimum distribution.
That's correct.
Right? And so what we've seen is you're generally speaking better off if you work with an advisor to get the money out slowly over time to not pop you into that top tax bracket.
Yes.
Because at some point you will pay the piper.
That's exactly right.
AKA the government, and the planning becomes very important there. So when people, and I know you're more worried about, or your business focuses on the setup of ESOPs, but do individual participants come to you and say, hey, Charles, I want to retire. How do I get my chips off the table?
Yeah, so before I joined Pilot Hill Advisors, I was CFO of a 100% employee-owned company in ESOP. And as CFO, I got that question all the time. And so I'm not saying it's not possible, but I'm not aware of all the ESOPs I know across the country where someone can get access to their ESOP account value while they're still working at that company. Now, if someone leaves a company pre-retirement age, they can get a rollover into an IRA or another 401k plan and maybe get access that way. But the reality is they don't get access to that money until they retire. And then it's treated like any other retirement asset. However, at that point, working with a qualified advisor, which is extremely important, that amount that they're going to get might be more than they've ever had money-wise in their life.
So double-edged sword maybe protects them on the upside, right?
Correct.
But you do at some point get access to it to help you with those golden retirement years, right?
That's exactly right. Which is the whole reason for the ESOP, is creating a benefit for the employee.
Yeah. From back to the owner side, I mean, your kind of parting words, is there any other words of wisdom you'd give to somebody considering starting an ESOP or anything to look out for as they kind of go down this road, or any resources?
I would say just a business, a thought for the business in general is it's never too early to start thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it's never too late to think about it either, but the more time an owner gives himself or herself
Mm-hmm.
to set the company up for success at that transaction date, and then for the next generation of the business, no matter what the succession is, could be family, could be ESOP,
Mm-hmm.
having a management team in place,
Mm-hmm.
having a plan in place that how is the ESOP going to be financed?
Mm-hmm.
Bank financing, seller note financing, thinking about that ahead of time, estate planning, working with someone like yourself
Mm-hmm.
and your peers in your network. How can you maybe set up the ownership of the company pre-ESOP to benefit from
Mm-hmm.
certain tax planning opportunities?
Yeah.
Um, Never too early. Even if
Yeah.
you're decades away, those are important. Don't spend a lot of time on it, but
Yeah.
those are important items to start thinking about early so that it's not a fire drill at the end where maybe some opportunities are closed off that could have been available
Yeah.
earlier.
We see that too. People that plan late. Sometimes you get to the 11th hour and you're like, hey, if we had a little more time, we might be able to incorporate some of these things into your plan. But
Right.
unfortunately, you've done yourself a disservice by not having the conversation early and picking up the phone and saying, hey, Charles, I'm thinking about doing this. Where should I start? Right.
Exactly. And,
Yeah.
and even I say a sadder situation we see is where a tragic event happens. I mean, no
Yeah.
one expects that proverbial bus coming along.
Mm-hmm.
But if someone wanted to go ESAP, wanted to get it to the next generation of the family,
Mm-hmm.
and tragedy happens and it wasn't already set up for success in the future for that kind of a transition,
Mm-hmm.
it becomes a real problem. It gets expensive.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of professionals need to be involved then to shepherd it through that process that maybe wouldn't have been needed otherwise.
Yeah. So if a business owner is thinking about this and wants to get a hold of you, how would they do that?
Yeah, I appreciate that. The best opportunity would be to email me, ckroll, CKROLL at pilothilladvisors.com, or go to Pilot Hill Advisors website, www.pilothilladvisors.com.
Charles, thanks for joining us today. It's always great to talk to you, sit down and talk ESOPs. Thanks for taking the time.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Let's keep moving forward together.